Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of On the Couch Book Reviews. So today we are taking a look at the book Crooked Letter by Tom Franklin. In this book, there is a lot to uncover. There's a lot of plot. There's a lot of, there's a lot of everything. But before I go into that, I want to tell y'all what sparked me into reading this book. So what sparked me into reading this was was watching YouTube yesterday, and so um I had found a video of some like the band songs, like how they have all those band songs, but it was by the Professor of Rock. So shout out to you, man, for sparking my interest in reading these books and checking out this song. So there was this song. It's an old song. I think it came out in like the '60s. I'm not exactly sure, but it's called Ode to Billy Joe. And it's about this guy who jumps off the Tallahatchie Bridge. So yeah. So I went on to Google Gemini and I found some books like this. I said I want books like that song. So we got Crooked Letter by Tom Franklin, like I said. So it starts out with Larry Ott. Now Larry Ott is a weird guy. Everybody is just like, don't trust him. He's weird. He was bullied in school. And plus, he was bullied in school and everything. Everybody thought he was weird. Nobody really wanted anything to do with him. He had a couple of friends, but then you got Silas, who is his friend in school and also the sheriff of the town that they live in. Now the book goes from it'll go from present to past, it'll go from today, when they're grown, to back when they were kids. So it starts out with Larry, and he's getting the chickens. He's taking the chickens out, and he's got this pin, which is really weird because I've never heard of this. But he did this thing with this pin, and he put lawnmower wheels on it, and he's able to drag it with this tractor. So he's driving. He gets the chickens out and everything, and he does his thing with them, and then he goes and gets in his truck and he's driving. He's driving, and so he goes back home, and when he walks in his door, boom, he gets shot. Well, actually, he was actually going to his garage. He was actually going to his garage first, but then his mom calls from the nursing home and is telling him he should come by for lunch and bring some KFC. That Kentucky Fried Chicken. But so he goes there. He gets the chicken, and he was gonna go to his shop. I think he ended up going to his shop, and then his mom called, so he closes up his shop. He goes there, and then he's on his way back home. So when he gets home, he walks in his door, and boom, he gets shot. So, and in the meantime, they're looking for a girl. The Rutherford girl. She goes missing. And they believe that Larry is connected to an old case too, as well. That's what ties him to this new case. They think he also had something to do with a girl named Cindy Walker who went missing. But I'll get into that later. So he gets shot. They end up taking him to the hospital, and then it goes on to talk about Silas and what his role is in the book. He's the sheriff and everything, and so I'll go a little bit into the backstory of um I'll go a little bit into the backstory when they were kids. So they're in school, and Silas, and this is, keep in mind, this is Mississippi in, I believe, the I'm not sure when. I think it might have been 70s or 80s, but so Silas and um Larry, they were kind of okay, but they wanted people. They didn't want people to know that they was hanging out. So they would hang out and stuff. And so Silas sees Larry shooting a rifle one day, and he's like, "I want to try it. I want to try it." And basically, so he lets him try it, and so he's like, "Yeah, you can keep it for a while, but I'm gonna need it back eventually." So time comes, his dad wants to know where his gun is, and he's going to get it back from Silas, and his dad follows him, and he tells him to fight. He's like, "Y'all gotta fight, da 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 da, y'all gotta fight." And so like he makes them fight each other and everything, and then it switches back to present day. So now Larry's in the hospital, and they're trying to find out who shot Larry. They're now Silas is um doing doing footprint molds and things of that nature. And the chief, the crime scene investigator, his name is French. He is working on the missing. He's still working on the girl who got kidnapped, the Rutherford girl. Um, so let's get into what happened to Cindy. So one day, Larry's just chilling, and Cindy walks up to him, and like Cindy is like, "Hey, what's up? I wanted to talk to you for a minute," and just she's like, "You like movies?" And he's like, "Yeah." And she is like, "All right, cool. Well, you want to go?" He's like, "Sure." So he tells his mom. Well, actually, they wanted to go to the drive-in, which is rated R movies. So he tells his mom they're going to see a western, and his dad like, "What's it rated?" And he's like, "R." And his dad's like, "Oh, we got some bosom in there." And his mom don't like it, and she's like, "Carl, no." And his dad's like, "Yeah, of course you can go. I'll even pay." But so they end up going, but they don't end up going. She tells him, "You gotta drop me off to go see my boyfriend." And plus, Cecil, her stepdad, is an abuser. Basically, he's not a good person. Like he's not what you would consider a good dad or a good stepdad. He's one of those people who gets drunk and like, you know how people do the whole grape thing and or abuse thing of that nature, and try to tell people and people don't believe you. Yeah, that's what he was doing. Um, so she's like, "I'm gonna run away," and he's like, "Wait, I thought you wanted to go to the movies with me." And she's like, just do it." And she tells him, go to the drive through, still go to the drive through and everything. And like, so he lets her out, and he goes to the drive through. Then he goes back home, and by this time her stepdad is really pissed because he's like, "Well, she never made it home," and da 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 da. So it switches back to Silas again. It switches back to the present day, and they're doing their thing. And so there's this guy who starts hanging out with Larry, named Wallace, and he pulls up in a stolen dish truck and everything, and like, you know um he's like, "Hey, I can get you a satellite dish, with this and that." I can get you a dish with this and that. And so he's like, nah, I'm good, bro. I don't need that, and I don't really want that either. But so long story short, he comes back again, and they're just chilling and stuff. And so then it switches to the past again, and Larry is in a zombie mask, and it's like, they're telling him, oh, you should go to the all the girls like start paying attention to Larry since he's got this zombie mask and everything. And he's like, yeah, I'm digging this, like, he's all for the attention and stuff like that. But so he's all for it, and basically he lets them all try on the mask, and they're like, yeah, you should come to the church tonight, be a part of the haunted house. So he does, but when it's all over, he just goes out the house, and really nobody is really paying attention to him. And like I said, he's kind of an outcast. Everybody bullies him, and like, you know just um it's just like, I mean, there's a lot of backstory. If I was to cover all of the backstory that's in this book, I would be here a long time covering this. Like, I would be here a while covering this backstory. So I'm just giving you guys like basic details, not trying to like spoil the book. I mean, there is just so much here. It's a really good book, really good read. So it comes down to one day, and then you find out that Silas is from Chicago, and his mom and him had to move because of his mom's boyfriend was just, he wasn't good either. And so they moved back to Mississippi where she grew up, and that's how Silas and Larry ended up meeting. And Silas ends up playing for the local baseball team. He ends up going to Oxford High School, like a little ways down the road or whatever. So who killed Cindy Walker? Who killed the Cindy Walker chick? And who killed the Rutherford chick? Now I'll tell you a little bit more before I go. Wallace, um, he comes back to Larry's one more time, and he tells him, he's Larry gets he's in the hospital, and he's trying to remember what's going on. So he tells the police chief, or he tells Silas, he's like, look, I got something to tell the police chief because I just remembered it. And so he's like, well, the police chief are here right now. We have to come back later and see a lot of this stuff. Like, and it's not who you think it is. That is, you don't know who Cindy Walker's boyfriend is at the time, and you find out later on in the book. I'm not gonna give that away because I was like, wait, what? That's a really big, really, like, whoa, that's crazy. You don't expect that. Um, you don't expect that, but um, so he tells the police chief when the police chief gets there the next day. He's like, well, I felt something. I was laying in bed, and it goes on to tell how he was in bed, and he feels something, like, just, he knows something's up. So it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he goes outside and he sees Wallace, and Wallace is like, I did something. And he's like, well, what'd you do? And he's like, well, he don't answer him. So um um so they're just chilling, and then, like, um they find some 4-wheeler tracks in the land, um leading out to the cabin in the woods where Silas and his mom used to stay. There's some 4-wheeler tracks, and they look like Wallace's. So that goes to show you the one you think it is not always the one you think it is. Now, who killed the Rutherford girl and the Cindy Walker chick? Was it Larry or was it Wallace? I don't know. You're gonna have to read the book to find out. Again, Crooked Letter by Tom Franklin, and it is narrated by Jack Fox on Bard. If you get it on Audible, I'm not sure who it's narrated by, but Jack Fox did a really good job. I think this is actually my first book that I have actually read that was narrated by him. If I haven't read any more, I really don't know, or if I have read any more, I really don't remember. But this book, as far as plot and everything goes, I give it a 10 out of 10 because it's really good developing plot, really good at keeping you on your edge of your seat and everything. So that's gonna do it for this video, ladies and gentlemen. I hope y'all have enjoyed. And like I always say, man, do what you do your thing, and always make sure you stay on top of your game. You feel me? Peace. I'm out. Yeah. Okay. Bro.